So today we are going deep, deep inside one of the most powerful companies on the planet, Alphabet. And as you can probably guess, it's this huge, sprawling empire, right? We're talking everything from self-driving cars to cloud computing, but it's all powered by a single, incredibly powerful engine. And that engine, of course, is Google. So that really brings us to the big question we're tackling here. How on earth did Alphabet get so woven into our daily lives? From searching for a recipe to navigating your city. And at the very same time, how is it using all that power to literally build the future with things like self-driving cars and super advanced AI? Well, let's get into it. Okay, let's start by cracking this thing open. Because to really get Alphabet, you first have to understand its structure. You have to understand what's actually powering this digital giant from the inside out. Before it was this massive empire, Google was just a better search engine. That's it. Its dominance wasn't built on having more money or being bigger. It was built on a revolutionary technological advantage. It was simply more relevant than anything else out there. And that advantage, it has a name, PageRank. This was Google's original secret sauce. Think of it like a technological moat that protected it from every competitor. And it became the foundation for literally everything that came after. So what exactly is it? Well, it was developed way back in 1996 at Stanford by the founders Larry Page and Sergey Brin. And PageRank was this brilliant new way to figure out a web page's value. See, instead of just counting keywords, it treated a link from one site to another as a vote of confidence, kind of an endorsement of that page's authority. Now, what's really fascinating here is the whole philosophy behind the technology. In their own words, Page and Brin wanted to build something that actually matched a person's gut feeling about what's important. So it wasn't just about clever code, it was about trying to mirror human intuition, but on the massive scale of the entire internet. To explain it, they came up with this really great analogy, the random surfer. So picture someone just clicking on links totally at random. Now, pages that are more important, with more high-quality links pointing to them, are just more likely to get visited by this surfer. The probability of landing on any given page, well, that's its PageRank. It's actually a pretty elegant way to think about how they measure influence across the entire web. Okay, so having a brilliant algorithm is one thing, but turning it into one of the most profitable businesses in modern history, that's a whole other ballgame. So how did they turn this relevance moat into an absolute economic powerhouse? The answer is all about the advertising engine. And wow, this chart really says it all, doesn't it? Just look at that concentration. A staggering 87% of all of Alphabet's revenue comes from just one place, Google services. That's search, YouTube, Android, basically the whole advertising business. Everything else is just a tiny sliver of the pie. In the profit from that one giant slice, it's just astronomical. In only the first 9 months of 2024, Google services pulled in over $88 billion in operating profit. That, right there, is the engine. It's an almost unimaginable amount of cash. But then, you've got the other side of the story. In that same exact period, the part of the company called Other Bets, all the futuristic experimental projects, lost $3.3 billion. And this contrast, it's the absolute key to understanding how Alphabet works. This table just lays it out perfectly. You've got one segment, Google services, basically printing money hand over fist. And that money directly subsidizes all the ambitious, money-losing ventures over in Other Bets. So the most important thing to remember is this. The advertising business pays for everything else. And that massive subsidy allows Alphabet to do two big things. First, relentlessly protect and expand its existing empire. And second, fund projects that honestly look like they're straight out of science fiction. And this expansion didn't just happen by accident. It was very methodical. The 2004 IPO gave them a huge war chest of cash. Then in 2006, they bought YouTube, a genius move that secured their future in online video ads. And then in 2015, they blew it all up and restructured into Alphabet, creating this clear separation between the core moneymaker and all those speculative future bets. And you have to understand, these weren't just simple acquisitions. They were deeply strategic, defensive maneuvers. Buying YouTube made sure no one else could dominate video ads. And developing Android, that was a masterstroke. Give away the operating system for free, but make manufacturers pre-install Google Search. That move guaranteed the cash engine kept running on billions and billions of phones.
So what does all that profit from the engine actually fund? It funds the other bets. These are the really high-risk, high-reward projects coming out of places like X, their moonshot factory. We're talking about Waymo, their self-driving car company, and Verily, which is tackling huge problems in healthcare. I mean, these are ventures that could literally change the world.
But this perfectly balanced system, this profitable engine funding a futuristic empire, is now facing its biggest threat ever. There is a regulatory storm gathering on multiple fronts, and it's aiming right for the heart of the machine.
See, for years, regulators would just fine Google for stuff it did in the past in the ad market. But there's been a critical shift. Now they're looking ahead. The new battleground is artificial intelligence, and the focus is on the one resource Alphabet needs to dominate it: data.
Now, this threat is global, but it's not the same everywhere. Over in the European Union, regulators are asking a really fundamental question. Does Google even have the right to use all this publisher content and all these YouTube videos to train its AI? They're worried it's unfair. Meanwhile, here in the US, the focus is more on the mechanics of the ad business, trying to demand more transparency.
Let's look a little closer at that EU investigation, because it really is a potential game changer. Regulators are digging into whether Google is basically just scraping the web and YouTube to build its AI without paying for it fairly. And here's the crucial part. If they manage to cut off or even just restrict that flow of data, they could seriously hobble Google's ability to build its next generation of technology. It threatens the future of its AI dominance.
Which really leaves us with this final critical question. Alphabet's model is crystal clear. A massively profitable engine funds the creation of our technological future. But as regulators all over the world start closing in, we have to ask ourselves, is that machine, that perfect synergy of present-day profit and future-building ambition, is it simply too powerful to be allowed to operate unchecked? The answer to that is going to define the next decade of technology.